welcome to episode 15 of Ring Talk from Goodwin Boxing. You're going to find out later on in the week we've got a bit of a special coming up with Linus Udofia, who boxed on Friday on the Haymaker show. So look out for that on Friday. But for now, we're going to go through a full Q&A because you lovely viewers have sent in so many on the back of a request that I've got 4 pages here. So we're going to have to try and rattle through them relatively quickly with Steve. So hopefully you'll get the answers that you're looking for. I know he's put out some stuff about asking about Chisora, asking about the various things going on within Goodwin Boxing. So we'll crack on.
Fire away.
Right, so we'll start off with Chisora, and possibly the most blunt question that we've got. Our Hayes team talking bollocks about the fight with Joe Joyce?
Right.
Let's go in at the deep end.
Let's try and answer this.
This is from Anthony Ridley, by the way.
Right, okay, the first point is to announce a deal's been done, that's not true.
Which was what happened.
What happened was Chisora was ambushed going into the O2.
Yeah.
And his natural attitude would tell me how much money it is, I'll shake if you pay me enough money. And that's still the case, but they're never going to pay enough money. But I'll cover that in a minute. So what you've got to remember is Dereck Chisora is not frightened of fighting anybody at all. He'll fight anybody. He's fought Hay himself, Klitschko,
yeah.
Pull Left. He fights everyone. So nobody can accuse him of backing out of a fight. But I'm his manager.
I mean, I doubt he'd be scared of anyone on the street or in the ring.
No,
I don't think there's a fear in there.
And he's certainly not scared of Joe Joyce. But the issue with it is quite simply, Dereck is ranked 14 in the WBC. He's coming off a shocking performance against Caballero in Monaco, and he was terrible. He'd admit that himself. He wants 2 fights to re-establish himself, and we have accepted fights from 2 massive names in the world of boxing, both of whom will be in the top, some will be in the world rankings. We're looking for big fights to say, well, look, if he's good enough, we're going to get him world ranked again, because some people say that he's finished. He doesn't believe he is, neither does Don Charles. So we don't want to be fighting Eastern Europeans, we want proper fights. So we're trying to do that, and we've accepted 2 fights at the moment with massive names, one of whom's fought for a world title recently,
right?
Not too long ago. So we're looking for that. So up pops the Joe Joyce scenario, a 2-0 Olympian who holds no rankings, offers nothing. So for Dereck Chisora to fight Joe Joyce, what does he get?
So it purely needs to be a huge offer to make it worth his time.
Because even so, yeah, because believe it or not, Dereck Chisora wants to re-establish himself and have a big crack. He wants a Dillian Whyte rematch.
Yeah.
He wants to, but the way to get a Dillian Whyte rematch is to get himself world ranked, right? Joe Joyce does not enhance his world ranking at all. It's an irrelevant fight. So he beats Joe Joyce. So people say, well, Dereck Chisora's just beating a 2-0 kid. Joyce, we didn't rate him anyway. He's a plodder. He's one-dimensional. So he doesn't actually achieve anything apart from money.
Yeah.
Right? So there's no point. So the original offer that was made was ridiculous. It was so low, it was beyond belief.
Yeah.
Now the offer that's currently on the table, which has been increased, to be fair, so to say he's talking bollocks is not actually true. David Hay is doing a good job as the promoter of Joe Joyce and trying to make a fight that makes sense for Joe Joyce because he's got everything to gain, nothing to lose. We've got everything to lose, nothing to gain. But the offer is still significantly less than what Dereck Chisora got for fighting Dillian Whyte in an all-British title, all-British fight on the Joshua undercard.
Yeah.
So if you replace Dillian Whyte with Joe Joyce, it's still an all-British fight on a Joshua, on a Hay Belly undercard.
On a pay-per-view undercard.
Sorry, yeah. So irrelevant. So Chisora's being offered something when he fought. When he fought White, it was WBC silver, so it had world ranking points at stake. This won't be for anything.
Yeah.
And he's been offered significantly less money, even with the latest offer, than he got for the Dillian Whyte fight. As his manager, it makes no sense. But obviously, for David, chasing Joe Joyce, keep mentioning Dereck Chisora's name, it hypes it all up. But nothing has been signed, nothing's been agreed, we've turned it down, we've said this is the number that we want. We don't really want the fight because we see no purpose, but this is what it's got to be worth. They're paying way under what the fight's worth. So we want to fight somebody far, far better than Joe Joyce. So it may be that we can't do it on the Hay undercard because maybe David will block Dereck fighting on it because he won't fight Joe Joyce, and if that happens, that's fine, we'll fight another show instead.
Yeah.
But Dereck wants to fight somebody that matters.
Alright, so we'll move on from that on to various other questions we've got about Chisora. So from Paul Oldtie, If Dereck had the Joe Joyce offer and White's team put in an offer for not as much but very close, which one would Steve guide him towards?
Dylan White, no, the money's not that relevant. That means something and puts him in a great position. It's not about the money, it's about Dereck re-establishing himself. We all know, though, that Dereck Chisora's value has fallen following the loss in Monaco.
Yeah.
Right? His stock has fallen. We need to rebuild the stock, and by rebuilding his stock and beating credible people, it will then determine that he'll get the money he wants for those sort of fights.
Okay, this one is probably one that's going to resonate with you, from @thefellowboss on Twitter. Money aside, what value or upside does the fight with Joe Joyce have? I'm surprised that as manager, Steve isn't advising Del against it.
Well, as his manager, I am advising him against it. Not because we don't think he wins. We think he beats Joe Joyce every day and twice on Sunday. But it doesn't achieve anything. And at Dereck's age, why does he want to be taking fights that mean nothing?
So as the value upside, there is not enough of it.
All there is his money. This is this colossal offer of money to beat up Joe Joyce. He'll take the money and beat up Joe Joyce. But the money on offer is nowhere near what he got paid for Dylan White in December 2016.
So one from Mark Evans on Twitter said he's laid out 4 options. 1, retire because there's no attractive option. 2 is Joe Joyce. Is money the only reason? How to decide how much makes it worthwhile and doesn't the loss end his career. Number 3, wait for White or Brown on the basis that when White loses the Dillian White the Dillian White rematch provides the biggest pension possible. Or 4, something else.
Something else.
Right.
And we just so you're quite aware, and I can discuss this, we took the David Price fight, and then David Price went and fought Povetkin, so we took that, no problem, because we think he would have beaten David Price. We took another fight against a top-ranked fighter, who said he will have that. That guy's now pulled out. We took a fight against somebody that's fought for a world title recently, they're trying to make that. So we are talking serious
names that people will know.
We are looking for serious fights. Now, whether that can be delivered or Eddie can deliver that, who knows? But these are all fights that would actually achieve something. Yeah. And let me tell you something, that Dereck Chisora is not chasing money in these next fight. He's chasing the right opponent, and he knows where we are. But he will earn the money if we deliver if we get what we want. We're looking for the right opponent in this next fight.
Yeah. From John Bailey, how many fights does Chisora have left? Will he lose all relevance if he suffers another loss, or will he always have a place in the British heavyweight scene due to his history and presence?
If he suffers another loss, I think he loses. If he suffers another loss in the short term. If we take a fight in March, for example, and Dylan White undercard against somebody credible and he loses again, I think that's, in reality, as a top-level fighter, him done. So he needs to not only win, he needs to put in a good performance and make people say that Monaco was just a blip. The Dylan White fight is what we remember him for, because he beat Dylan White, in my opinion. So he can get back up. He can get back up to that level. But if he does really well in a March fight and Eddie gets him another fight quickly thereafter, he could easily fight the winner of White and Brown.
Okay. Final one on this from John Bailey. Will Chisora turn his arm to management when he's retired, do you think? He seems to know a boxer's value, has been involved with all the major promoters, and comes across as wise when it comes to the business side.
I think Dereck's skills are better served elsewhere than management.
Right.
Let's move on.
Fair enough. So right, hopefully that covers all the stuff with Dereck Chisora. We're going to move on now to the questions we got about your involvement with David Haye. So that goes back to the show from Friday, and then it goes forward to the March 17th show, Your Call. So Lee, at Last Dart, why doesn't Haye use the rig you have for the Your Call show? I think it would look really good on TV.
Well, firstly, we appreciate David Haye working with us. It gives our fighters a platform, so it's really great that we can be involved. So we really appreciate all the promoters.
Because there's some really good viewing figures on the stream that was up before. I know there are a few issues with it and problems, but they've still got Dino Richardson and Linus Udofia.
Well, we're going to get the footage of the other fights so they'll all go out on YouTube. So we appreciate that. But when we actually spoke to David about rigging, he looked at our rigging system, he loved it. But But I think with David, he would not want to be replicating what we do. So I think he wanted to bring his own screens and stuff in there. Whether you prefer our one or his one, that's personal choice. But yeah, so I think he liked the concept of what we did, but he wouldn't want to copy what we do.
Yeah, but I think the product looks so much better than when they were at the O2 Indigo. Like on TV, I think it was just a far better looking.
Well, we did say too that we have debrief meetings afterwards, and our view was that they should move from the O2 Indigo.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that our suggestion was taken on board.
I think it was wise. Tracy Smithers. I like Tracy. She's
a lovely lady.
Yeah. Has Hay asked for much in the way of advice on promoting? His last show was better compared to the others, but the layout is similar to Goodwin shows. It's a compliment, but also a genuine question.
In terms of promoting, not really. I think he's done promoting in his own right before.
Well, he's had Haymaker for years, hasn't he?
So I don't feel that we try and advise on certain fights, but at the end of the day, it's David Hay's show. He decides. We fill in the gaps that he wants us to fill in. We don't really have a lot to do with a lot of the top end of the card, and David does his own thing, and he's trying to create a different type of scenario. He's trying to build characters. He's trying to build what he wants to do in his way. Maybe different than what I would do, but that's down to him. And so, in effect, is he asked us for advice? Well, no. We only gave the only bit of advice I think we've given is moving from the O2 Indigo,
which was wise. Another question from John Bailey. How close was the Hay card last Friday to being pulled from TV or being cancelled due to the pullouts? So, as in reference
I'm not sure it was close. I mean, I think the worst thing was when boxers, what I would say very quickly is boxers have a lot to answer for. Boxers play victims, right? But boxers cause a lot of the problems. Obviously, John O'Donnell pulled out the Friday before. It was a genuine injury. He tried to come back, he couldn't do it. The Temuka Mucha thing was terrible, that the check weigh-in was on the Tuesday. We were told the check weigh-in was all done and arranged. Pull out on the Wednesday. We can't get a substitute for the title fight. That was that was just not acceptable the way that was done. So then leaves the show without a title fight. That's not David Hay's fault. That's the fault of Temuka Mucha, of pulling out at that particular point with lack of, in my opinion, lack of regard for the promoter. Don't know what's happened behind the scenes, but whatever it is, because he said he was injured from Monday, but only pulls out on Wednesday. So David's then left without a title fight. So that was a problem one now. The English title fight has gone. Then on the Friday, Eric McConzo weighs in against Willie Hutchinson, 8 pounds overweight.
Yeah.
You've then got the situation that the other Olympian could be out. There's now no title fight and only Joe Joyce. So I think the TV executives were then seriously thinking about what to do. Fortunately, Willie Hutchinson's people took the fight with Eric McConzo, and it all went through and carried on as it was. But it was a very testing time for everybody involved, I think. And what I've got to say is it's not the fault of David Hay or any of the Haymaker team. That was just circumstances by boxers, and Eric, who's I like Eric, is somebody I'm close to. That was not acceptable. Turned out that overweight, and neither was Temuka Mucha, who he's not my fighter, behaving like that, because it has repercussions on the promoters, especially when you're trying to deliver a product for television.
But fair play to Willie Hutchinson as well. 19 years old, to find out your opponent's that far overweight, it's a big risk, because Eric's no mug in the ring.
No.
And so I do think, well done to Willie Hutchinson for going ahead and doing that. And
totally, full credit to him. Didn't think it was a great performance by Willie, but that's a separate issue. But yeah, I think in terms of was it near to getting pulled, you'd have to ask the TV executives. But I know that there would obviously have been a question asked when it was going wrong, and it annoys me. But when boxers do this, because boxers will, and boxers will play the victim, but very often they are the villains, not the victims.
Question from Shane Dyer. I like Shane. This question is probably a bit too early to ask because they're both still rookies, but just in case you've already given it a thought, who in your stable potentially would you not hesitate in putting in against Michael Venom Page and Willie Hutchinson?
Any of my decent level fighters will fight Michael Page tomorrow, and Joe Fournier if he fights in the UK, because I think they are. I think they're more what I call project fighters than real fighters. Willie Hutchinson is...
No, Joe Fournier is top 15 in the world.
Yeah, that shows you that's something. I think Joe said that, I saw an interview with Joe, and he said he's above the level of British and Miles Shinkwin and people like that.
Brilliant.
But really, Michael Page, I would put in pretty much any of my middleweights if he's going to fight there, or even light heavyweight, pretty much any of my light heavyweights. Willie Hutchinson, no, I think he's a very talented fighter who needs time to develop. Yeah. So I don't really see any point in putting my fight. Eric's a journeyman, he gets paid for fighting, but I wouldn't put my prospects in with Willie Hutchinson.
Right. Okay. Right. So now we're going to move on to the other questions that we got, which are plenty as well, from the sublime to the ridiculous, which we'll start with from Will. What's your favourite crisps?
Salt and vinegar.
Any particular brand? I mean,
anything. When I'm hungry, I'll eat anything.
Anything. Okay. There was another one that's slightly more bizarre than that. Tom Nuttall. How many dry crackers can you eat in a minute without a drink?
We can try it next week if you want.
Right, okay then, Tom, we'll do that next week.
Try next week.
We'll find out. Scientific answers. He initially asked it about Dereck Chisora, but...
I don't think Dereck can play that game.
No, I think he'll just smash them all up on a table for a minute or something.
Yeah, no, I'll have a go.
Alright, we'll give it a go next week. Competition. A question from Lee Witcher. Not to look past any opponent, but should Joel McIntyre blow his opponent away Saturday night, which is down in Portsmouth, isn't it?
Yeah.
Will you be looking to get him back for a rematch for the English belt, especially if Shinkwin wins a title, given they're 1-1? If not, what's next for Joel?
Well, Joel's having his comeback fight, so he's got to get Taya Mehmed out of the way on Friday. Now, Miles Shinkwin's fighting Liam Conway for the English title. If Miles wins, which I do expect Miles to win, Miles then has a voluntary. Now, he doesn't... I look after Miles, I look after Joel, but Miles doesn't owe Joel a fight. It's just not how it works, right?
It's quite funny because I remember before Joel won the title, and then Miles was saying, if you win it, we'll have a decider. And then it's now tables are turned.
And I'm quite sure that Miles will be going, I don't need a decider, you never gave me a decider. Yeah. You know what it's going to be like. But I mean, to be honest, I think what Miles will do is he will look for the best fight, the best option, the best money, the best platform. Yeah. Now, for example, once again I say the same thing, if Miles won the title and there was an option of putting it on a TV platform where both fighters got decent money, then I think that's a fight that could easily be made. So, but it depends on the platform. There's no point them meeting in a small hall venue, not earning great money. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But I'm sure Joel, he's just got to do his stuff now and do it, and he'll come back on and fight for titles again. He just got caught with a lucky punch last time, and it won't happen to him again.
All right, question from Yestin. If you can have any UK fighter who is not with Warren, Hennessy, Hearn or McGuigan, who would you like to have?
Sam Bowen of Carl Greaves, but I've got to say, I'm not trying to poach him, Carl, because I think you're doing a brilliant job. But I think he's a kid that's struggled through the small halls and not really been given the credit he deserves by the big promoter.
Isn't he fighting for the British in his next fight?
But even Cole's got to put that on is it called Ultimate Fighter they're doing? Is it?
Yeah, the one in Manchester.
Yeah, so he's having to put him on that undercard because he's still struggling to get TV exposure for him. Yeah. Shows you get an amazingly talented kid like that and you can't get TV networks.
I've never seen him. He's one of these. It's one of these ones where if TV was more prominent amongst the small halls, we saw like Pox and Sports put on the one from Preston not that long back. But that's where I first saw Robbie Davis Jr. Because I don't go up north to watch boxing. So someone like Sam Bowen, he's a bit of a myth to me that I'd like to see him. And
he's very exciting. And Carl, I wish him and Carl the best because Carl's a great guy, and I hope they do well. But I think if anybody that's not signed up, he's the one.
All right, interesting one here from the boys at British Boxing Blog. Would you be interested in Super Bowl style North versus South final? Obviously you have to work with a northern-based promoter, and both regions would have a tournament series of bouts run seamlessly, culminating in said final.
That works if you've got money, financial backing.
Yeah. They did put, rather sarcastically, we can't foresee any issues with this.
Really?
But they do.
The issues realistically are, if you take Linus Udoka, who's building up a great career, who's 8-0, he's only going to go into a tournament if there's some substantial reward from it in money. If you've got saying, well, I want to put you in a tournament, Linus, you're going to have to sell the tickets down up here, and the opponent who's 7-0 is going to have to sell the tickets up in the north, and you're going to go up there and fight for $2,000. He's going to come down and fight for $2,000. You're probably going to earn a couple of grand each on each fight. It's financials. I think that works if you've got the backing either of a sponsor or of TV. I think it's a brilliant idea, but in reality, coaches, managers are not going to let their fighters go into that unless there's some financial reward.
Yeah. Okay. Follow up from Jamie Ingleby on it. Growing the tournament-style boxing idea. Thoughts on the British Boxing Board Control Series? Run in a similar fashion to World Boxing Super Series. 8 fighters. The prize is a Lord Lonsdale belt and European title shot. Get the belt holders active and incentivised. Thoughts on feasibility?
Great idea. Needs money.
Yeah.
Same thing. These are brilliant ideas, but you've got to have somebody who's going to put the money together.
Yeah.
Because you can go to the British Boxing Board of Control and propose an idea.
Which is what you did with the cruiserweights.
The fight cups.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they will do that, and that's what they will have done with the reincarnation of prize fighter under a different name, right? So that has just been approved again. So it's basically the board are always happy to look at ideas that further the sport of boxing. That's a brilliant idea, but you've got to remember you've got various different promoters. Some are at odds with each other. People are suing each other in boxing, so it's quite difficult to get different people together to actually work together in this sport. And I guess some of the people are asking idealistic questions, and they're great ideas, but it's idealistic, and in reality it's quite difficult to do it unless the money talks.
Yeah. Okay, question from Oscar Smith. Also, what do you think of the Ultimate Fighter tournament happening in Manchester in April? Would you put any Goodwin boxes in it?
Yes. Great idea. It's half the money, as Eddie Hearn wanted, he put it down by saying it's half the money of what we do. Well, of course it's going to be half the money because they had Sky
back in.
That's like, you know, I thought Eddie was a bit, I'm not that bothered about it, but I think it's not enough money. I think that's really unfair, because where else are these fighters going to be fighting for that money? Matchroom don't even pay that when they use them as opponents.
And they're on purses as well, aren't they? It's not ticket deals.
So I think it's a really good idea, and yes, we would put fighters in that for sure.
Okay. Another one from Oscar. Is there any fighter in Steve's stable that he would accelerate their career, how Matchroom do with the Olympians, if he could, assuming tickets or money weren't an issue?
There's plenty of them.
But I mean, how would that be balanced? Is it a matter of, to accelerate anyone, you probably want to accelerate the older ones rather than the younger ones?
But I think he's talking about giving them 6, 7, 8 fights a year.
Yeah.
The problem is also that, are they that accelerated? How many Joshua Whites he had?
Yeah.
Are they that? Conor Benn's
about the only one.
Conor Benn is the only accelerated one, I think. Other than that, they're not fighting that much more than our fighters are fighting.
No. And Conor needs it because he hasn't had that background. He's learning on the job.
I'm not sure that actually happens. I mean, Natasha Jonas, I think she's having her 4th or 5th fight in a year, that's no more than our fighters have.
Yeah.
So I'm not really sure that they are actually accelerated. But anyway, that's a side issue. But in reality, do our fighters need 8 fights a year? I don't know any that are desperate for that. We've got lots of talented fighters, but they're going to get to the top doing what I'm doing with them anyway. So,
all right. Sean Langshaw picking up on the issues of last week. When will Simon Villani get his shot against Arfan the Major, Arfan Iqbal? Pity an injury prevented a decent fight.
Do you know what happened? He fell off. He went on the treadmill on Thursday. He just wanted to. He was 1.8 kilos off the weight, so he decided to go for a treadmill run. And he said, as he was on the treadmill, he was doing it about 11 o'clock at night. And he said, you know, sometimes when you're on the treadmill, you sort of doze off. No.
I'll be honest.
He said he dozed off and he caught his foot on the left and he went over on his foot. That's exactly what happened. He was rushed to hospital. So Arfan, he's got an ankle, but he'll be ready in, I don't know, probably be ready to go again in 6 weeks. But obviously Sauerland's won the purse bid, so now it's up to Sauerland's to come back with a date. Once they come with a date, we'll be ready to go. I mean, Arfan's ready to go.
Presumably it would be a good fit, hypothetically, for the final of the Super Series.
If that's on the 2nd of, if Sauerland's want to do that in the 2nd of June, then he'll be ready to go then, or slightly before that. But we're ready to go. It's just an unfortunate circumstance, and Simon Villani fortunately got out and he won by stoppage. So, you know, we're still very confident Arfan wins, so we'll see in probably June time.
We've got a follow-up from Mark Livingston. I tuned in to see your show with yourself and Steve. You said how well Simon Villani looked and how fit he was. Is that the real reason Arfan didn't show? And is he going to fight Simon within 90 days?
Well, the first thing is you can't put a chin or a body, you know, or take body shots on just because you look great. You can have plenty of Adonises out there who are not going to be able to take punches. So when Arfan hits him, we'll see how the body stands up. 90 days, that talks middle of May. Well, it depends on whether the Sauerlands have got a date. The thing is, it's down to the Sauerlands. I don't think they're going to have a show before the middle of May.
Not in the UK.
No, UK, and they've got to stay UK. So I think their show is going to be May or June. The other option is that we could, if Sauerlands want to pass the fight on to another promoter, and I have had a sort of I've spoken to another promoter about this. Another promoter could take the fight.
So can that happen? Are they allowed to sell it essentially?
In effect, as long as all parties agree, then it's a possibility, and we've had an inquiry about that as well. So I'm convinced that the fight will happen before the middle of June, but we are now beholden to Nissa and Kalle Sauerland, who own the rights to the fight. That's not up to ourselves or Arfan or even Simon Vallely. We just have to wait. But the fight will happen. Arfan will be there, and it'll be a great fight.
And they're probably a little bit busy at the moment, the Sauerlands, given the
problems. I haven't, to be honest, I haven't been disrespectful to ring them this week and ask them what they're doing about Arfan about Simon Vallely. I think they've got a lot.
They've been sort of an opponent for Callum Smith. And
so I've just left that this week. I'll call them next week and we'll talk about that.
Sam O'Reilly from Fight Talk, top man. Any chance we could see Jamani Camaro go on the road to get fights? We all know how hard his situation is with the Southern Area title and not getting fights. I wonder if there's any merit in it as he performed so well on Friday. Well, last time he went on the road, he went and chinned someone up in the north-west, didn't he?
I mean, we took that fight because there was no loss to achieve. Nobody is coming forward to challenge him for the Southern Area title. And we all know about this, Jamani is not a huge ticket seller, so that does come on. But I think what we've got to be doing, I've taken a person who's not a ticket seller to Southern Area title, and he's now had a little shot on television and he performed really well. It is something, if the right fight comes along over the right distance, it's fine. However, what you've got to remember with Jamani, he's not a 4-round, 6-round fighter, he's an 8-10 round fighter. And you remember he took that he wasn't in full training, he took that with 48 hours notice. Conor Benn, for example, love to do it over 10 rounds, but we're not going to fight Conor Benn over 4 or 6. But Conor Benn, for example, even at welterweight, would take that fight tomorrow. Joe Cordina, take that fight tomorrow. Got to be 8 or 10 rounds. But with Jamani, he's not a journeyman as such, going to go on the road to doing 4 and 6 rounds. That's not what he's going to do.
He's too talented for that.
But we will take good fights over long distance rounds. But if not, we'll work out a way to bring him back, and hopefully somebody will come up and face him for the Southern Area at some point.
Okay, question from Mikey at Analyse Boxing. What's the most satisfying moment in your time in boxing?
Frank Buglioni knocking out Hosea Burton in round 12.
And why was that satisfying, Steve?
It was because I love Frank.
Because you love Frank and it was a great night.
It was a great night, and some smug people had a smile wiped off their face.
Fair enough. A final one. We've shot through these. I'm impressed. A friend of mine, Riku Heikler. If you were running the World Boxing Super Series and could do 2 things differently, what would they be?
I think they're doing a great job. I think they're doing a really, really good job.
Can I throw one in?
You throw one in, because I think I went to the Groves fight in London. You've been to the Grove Eubank fight, so you tell me, because I think they're doing a great job. So I think you're...
Well, actually, I think mine's more to do with the running of it and the fact that Jürgen Bremer's pulled out this weekend, and now we've got some Dutch kickboxer that seems to have emanated from somewhere. I was always under the impression, I thought at the beginning of the tournament, they said Zach Parker
was the reserve.
But now Jürgen Bremer's out. Zach Parker fought on the Eubank card, and I think Neil Marsh, his manager, was saying that they were offered it, but he was like 16 pounds over by Tuesday. So it wasn't safe for them to accept it. But what it turns out, I think, is that they've got a reserve fighter per card. And I think, hopefully they run it again, because it's been a fantastic series, and I think every boxing fan and non-boxing fans enjoyed.
They'll definitely run it again.
Oh, excellent.
But it's not heavyweights.
No,
I think they were looking at doing heavyweights, but we're going back 3 or 4 months, but continuing.
Light heavyweight, featherweight, those should be the 2.
They're not far off, don't think.
Excellent. But yeah, I mean, if they laid out at the beginning who the backups would be in case of emergencies, essentially, then I think that would help fans understand a little bit more, because if we knew that there was some Dutch kickboxer that had lined up for this, then fair enough, but we didn't. It's kind of been dropped upon boxing fans, and obviously they've got no obligation to tell us what the situation is, but I think Dmitry Chudinov was scheduled to fight. I'd rather see Dmitry have a go.
Yeah, that's true. There's some guy that's going to lose to Smith.
But
make sure you tune in at $9.99 on Saturday.
$9.99 bollocks, I'm paying $9.99 to watch that. So that would be one of them, is if they offer clarity right at the beginning to what happens if this happens.
I think, to be honest, with this happening, I think they'll learn from that, and I think you'll see they put something else in place next time. I think overall it's been a great concept. I think people are buying into it. I think it's a really, really good thing for boxing, and it's great to see other promoters come into the UK market and do something different. I think it's great. But yeah, I think definitely I'd agree with that.
Yeah, I think maybe the other one is to spread the events, and I realise that's maybe quite difficult to do because of the timescales they're running on, but it almost felt like Groves Eubank never quite got the promotion that it probably deserved as a fight, because 2 weeks before that they're over in Russia, 3 weeks before that they're over in Latvia, they're sorting all these other fights out, and then they can't quite concentrate and give the focus and build up. But that said, the production value of the material they provide pre and post fight is sensational. I don't know if you've seen the day after Eubank Groves one, but they get their behind the scenes footage of what the fighters do when they're at the hotel.
Oh really? I've seen it.
They put cameras in the corner so you see Senior kind of going mad at the cutsman. Just honestly, if you get a chance to watch it, go and see it. I think it's called like the day after or something.
What sort of job did you think Chris Senegal done on the car?
A poor one.
Did you?
I'll be honest, again, I watched it back yesterday because I couldn't really see where I was near me, and partly due to alcohol, partly due to where I was. But yeah, I couldn't quite work out what he was doing, and the whole corner, again, I know it's a common theme around Chris Eubank Jr. in his career, but the corner's in disarray. You've got Eubank Senior prancing about kind of in the middle, and then you've got Senegal. I'm used to seeing cutsmen leaning through the ropes and just not being bang in front of the fighter, while I mean, your actual coach is on the outside of the ring, presumably voiceless. I thought it was poor.
The whole corner was poor,
but, who am I to judge it, really? I'm not a cutsman or anything else.
But I mean, he didn't get, I think in a lot of other fights that fight would have been stopped, but I think, going back, but I think it's added a lot of a good dimension to British boxing, and the more divisions that they come out and do this for, I think it's just going to be great. It's going to suffer, I think he will suffer the impact of Eddie Hearn will have more fighters in those tournaments, but I'm sure he's compensated financially for doing that. But it'd be interesting to see if Frank Warren puts any of his fighters in it. Yeah. Especially if it is, I don't know what it is, but if it was light heavyweight, will he put Anthony Hardy? When he has to have proper fights?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Anthony Yard's probably above that anyway, because he's highly ranked within
but a genuine thing though, if you think Anthony Yard is a real deal, why would you not put him in the Super Series?
Oh, absolutely. I think it'd be fantastic if he did, and I think, as boxing fans, we would appreciate it far more.
Rather than the continue talking about things, just go and put him in proper fights. And I think I don't think he'd be in, but I'd be great. I think Anthony's a nice guy, and I think it'd be great to see him in a competition like that.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
If that's one of the weights they do.
So I think that's all the questions that we've gone through. Thank you ever so much to anyone that submitted.
Yeah, really appreciate that. Really good.
Yeah, if we get another week like this, we'll probably have to do another Q&A and then a sit down as well. So on Friday, I think it's Friday, we'll release the other one with Linus Udofia. But for now, that's it for this one. So thank you very much.
Cheers.
And cheers for watching.
Have a good week.